with all the good stuff you need to know. Right here on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right. Here we go. It is a Tuesday, and don't you love it? Like the most cliche way to begin a show. It's kind of like the way that Johnny Carson used to begin every show, the way Jay Leno used to do all the Tonight Show. We got a real fun show for you tonight. Those words almost came out of my mouth. Cliche-ish. They almost came out of my mouth just because I've heard somebody else say, we got a fun show for you today, folks. You came to the right place, but yeah, I really do think there will be some fun in today's show. I know I'm going to have fun with it. Hopefully you will too. So let's go. Now, we're on schedule, and if we're on schedule, coming up in just a bit, we'll get to talk to Neil Price, voice of Mississippi State, and maybe not going to talk to him about what you think we're going to talk to him about. Trust me. 1 week ago today, we had one of the best shows here on this show we've ever had. It is a subject. It was a subject, 2 hours worth of a subject that over the years I've kind of made fun of. And then, in the words of Michael Scott, well, how the turntables. Because we did a 2-hour show last week, this time on wrestling. We didn't even mean to. And it was a lot of fun. It was one of the best shows we've ever had. And so we're circling back here a week later. We're going to touch on something and some stories that I promise you haven't heard unless you've been in the company of Neil at some point and heard him tell them. So that's coming up. But that means here today on a Tuesday in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi, your hometown heroes. Go with the home team at Farm Bureau Insurance. That means right out of the chute, right now, without further ado, headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines on the show at the top of the hour brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee. Where are you, Went? Went McGee, the mortgage man. Find him online at mortgagemanms.com. Bank of England Mortgage, location in Rizla, and now also in Starkville, Oxford, and in Tupelo. All right, midweek baseball is happening right now as we speak. Ole Miss is playing, and since it's early in the day and a home game, they're playing the University of North Alabama. It's a gorgeous day for it. It must be that school game. You know how they'll have one game a year at Ole Miss where they do it early in the morning and all the schools take a field trip to the Ole Miss baseball game. It's really a cool thing and a cool idea. That must be what's going on today, unless it's a makeup or something. But anyway, they're playing today in Oxford, and Ole Miss is up right now in the third inning, 2-0 over UNA. Mississippi State's on the road, midweek baseball tonight, 6 p.m. first pitch at Memphis. At Memphis. Played them once already. You know, Ole Miss went up there and got whipped earlier this year. And the first time State played Memphis in a midweek, Memphis had a 5-6 run lead late in the game, and State had a furious comeback to win it. And so midweek baseball is on the docket. Also today, it's being reported that in the NFL, the Jets are going to trade quarterback Zach Wilson to the Broncos. So if you're a Broncos fan or you're a Sean Payton fan, by the way, you know, condolences, these new uniforms. Did you see the new Broncos uniforms they unveiled? They're not any better than the ones they've been wearing, which were awful. Leave it to somebody like the Denver Broncos to take classic uniforms like John Elway wore and turn them into, a steaming pile of what. And then they tried to change it and didn't really change it that much. But they might be getting a quarterback into the mix. Being reported that the former number 2 overall pick back in 2021 is going to be traded away here from the Jets over to the Broncos. See how that affects draft picks for this year's draft. I don't know. We'll see, though. Just make sure you're aware. And if you've been following court cases involving Florida State and Clemson and wanting to get out of the ACC, they want to get out of there just as fast as they can get out so that they can go join up with the SEC or somebody else. They want to leave. It's pretty obvious. And they're having to take everybody to, each other to court, take the league to court. Well, a judge is ordering Florida State and the ACC to go to mediation to settle this lawsuit. A Tallahassee judge has ordered Florida State and the ACC, that would be the Atlantic Coast Conference, to enter mediation in hopes of settling a high-profile lawsuit that could dramatically impact the future of the league. Well, it obviously would. Whether Florida State's in there or whether they're out does, either way, dramatically impact, it's an understatement, the future of the ACC. That is for sure. And those are some of your headlines here today on this Tuesday. Right off the top of the show, brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage Company and 𝐌𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢, the Mortgage Man. Find him online at �mortgagemanms.com. Location in Ridgeland, obviously, but now in Starkville, Oxford, and in Tupelo. Okay. Now throw on the brakes. This time 1 week ago, we had a 2-hour show that was about nothing but wrestling. We had more text messages on that radio show than maybe any other radio show we've ever done. We couldn't quite get to all of them. We had more phone calls. It was like a Monday after a football game. I never seen anything like it. And it all was started because Beaver shaved his facial hair partially and left a big goatee hanging off his chin. He looked like Captain Lou Albano, and he knew I was going to say that before I said it. That led us to look up the top 15 wrestlers in wrestling from the 1980s, according to Ranker.com, which led us to discover that there were some that weren't on there that should have been, and some that were that shouldn't have been. And 2 hours later, we were still talking about it. And even though, I didn't grow up a wrestling fan, I can really appreciate everybody's passion for it. And it's more entertaining to me now than it used to be. So we're going to jump over here in the Wayback Machine. Okay, there's plenty of seats here in the Wayback Machine. You jump on in here with us. And right now on the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. We're going to look back and remember Randy Macho Man Savage with somebody, I don't think he knew him personally, but he knew some people who did know him personally and collected some cool stories over the years. He is Neil Price, Mississippi State's play-by-play man on the radio for football and basketball. Neil, welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well on a Tuesday. Did you recognize the Macho Man intro music, by the way? Did you recognize that?
First of all, let me say, yeah, I can dig it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
yes. Perfect.
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
So, Neil,
so to your point,
yeah.
I did not know him personally. No.
Okay.
But when I was working in Lexington, a lot of people may not know Randy Poffo, Randy Savage. He got his start in wrestling in Central Kentucky. His dad, Angelo Poffo, ran a smaller promotion in Central Kentucky back in the days where you had all the territories in, as you call it, wrestling. You had all the territories.
Yeah.
So Angelo ran a promotion called ICW, and Randy and his brother Lanny, they wrestled frequently in that promotion, family business. Randy had a hand in putting the weekly TV show together.
Yeah. And
I heard plenty of stories from guys who worked at WKYT, namely Dave Baker, another name a lot of people listening to your show may know, back when Dave was on TV doing not only SEC Network, but Jefferson Pilot games way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Randy got to know him, rather Dave got to know Randy rather well through his interactions with him at Channel 27, and it led to some wonderful stories. And the guy that produced our games at Kentucky, Bo Robinson, Bo's mother and father went to high school with Randy Poffo at Lafayette High School in Lexington, Kentucky, and also with a guy named Jim Varney, who was there at the same time, who went on to become Ernest P. Worrell. Yeah.
You kid, wait a minute, time out. So Jim Varney, the guy who played Ernest P. I mean, yeah, Ernest. Ernest Goes to Camp. Ernest Saves Christmas. Ernest went to the. Are you saying was in the same town or went to the same school with Macho Man?
Same school, Lafayette High School in Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, and so Bo Robinson, the guy I was telling you about, Bo's dad went on to become a bank president. That was his career. And Bo, like many sons with their dads, would occasionally think during his teenage years that dad should have given him something or helped him with something that dad thought wasn't exactly great for him at the time.
Uh-huh.
And Bo would famously look at his dad in a story he told me and say, "Do you understand how lucky you are? My mama could have married Ernest P. Worrell or the Macho Man, but she chose you."
Of all the people that she could have chosen at school. Okay, so that's I had heard you over the years, Neil, relaying to me some of these stories that you picked up about Randy Macho Man Savage from back in the day. And so you were picking them up from people that you worked with and knew in Kentucky when your time at University of Kentucky on the radio. And so take me back to some of that. You were telling me one time about how, like, early on before he hit it big in the wrestling, you talk about local or regional, he did his own show or something on the news, and he would edit his own videos. What was that all about?
Yeah. So like I told you at the top, his dad, Angelo, ran this promotion in Central Kentucky called ICW.
Yeah.
So they worked with two television stations in the market. Channel 36 had a bigger television studio at that time, so they would set a ring up and bring in chairs, and they would have a studio audience there, and they would shoot the matches at Channel 36, and then Randy would take the 3/4-inch tapes that they had shot all the matches on. Mm-hmm. He would go to Channel 27, which was just up the road, WKYT, and they would air the show. But Randy would go in there on Saturday mornings, and he would edit that show together. The old linear editors, he'd sit down with those tapes, and he would cut together a show and then hand the finished product off to a master control operator to play back on Saturday mornings after they had shot the matches on a Thursday or Friday night. And Dave Baker tells a story about, you be in the sports office, which at WKYT it was it's in a beautiful old 2-story, like this big grand, looks like a thoroughbred farm house. It's beautiful. So upstairs where the sports offices were, and Dave said, you'd hear these big boots, stomping on the steps coming up to the sports office on Saturday morning, and said here'd be this big mountain of a guy, and he'd have the bandana on his head, and he'd have the ski goggles or the aviators walking in the building, and as a normal guy, not as the Macho Man or anybody else, he'd just knock on the door. Hey, brother, anybody using the edit bay? And he'd come in with these tapes under his arms, and no, and he'd go in there and he'd cut a show together.
Wow.
And Dave tells a story about the master control operator a couple weeks in a row either didn't put some commercials in the show that had been paid for and were supposed to play back, or had forgotten, or something happened that it didn't go off 2 weeks in a row the way it was supposed to. And, Randy finishes cutting the show, and he walks in and he hands it to the master control operator, and he says, hey, brother, you don't care. I'm going to sit and I'm going to help you this morning, okay? And, of course, this guy looks up, and here's this professional wrestler. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Every spot got in that day, Dave said, But they're telling you these stories, and you're just sitting here thinking, that's crazy that here's a guy that I remember as a kid when he had just kind of made the move, I guess, in the early mid-'80s to WWF at that point, the big national promotion, or one of them. Yeah. And then here he is in Lexington, Kentucky. When he actually signed his contract with WWF, he was still wrestling for, the family in ICW. Mm-hmm. So they had to have a loser leaves town match. And Randy's going to wrestle in this loser leaves town match at Rupp Arena in Lexington so that he can be released from his contract to move on to the WWF. He's got to be kicked out of the promotion.
Uh-huh.
And Channel 27 in that day, in the 80s, Dave Baker's at Rupp Arena doing a live hit on the 6 o'clock news with Randy Savage ringside at Rupp Arena talking about this loser leaves town match. And you're thinking, what TV news entity now would do that? And here he is in full character on the 6 o'clock news telling people about this big match and why they ought to come out, all this stuff, really playing it up to he's going to win it. Of course, he loses and moves on, but crazy. Yeah.
It is really something else. Yeah. Surely, Neil, like tape exists of that, or it's on YouTube or something. I would love to see that 6 o'clock newscast where
Steve Moss is the sports director at Channel 27 now, and Steve's been a photographer there for many years. But Steve put it out on, I think, Channel 27's Facebook page. It's been out there more than once of Dave Baker and Randy Savage before that loser leaves town match. Dave Baker, Randy Savage, and Hulk Hogan before a WWF event at Rupp Arena. They're out there somewhere. Right. There's even one that ties in with that. A lot of people know that Randy Poffo played in the farm systems for the Cincinnati Reds and also for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Uh-huh.
So there's also a YouTube video that does exist with the audio and some pictures from the day of Randy Savage on the Reds radio network with Marty Brenneman and Joe Nuxall in the middle of a Reds game before he wrestles at Riverfront Coliseum later that night. And the Reds players, some of which he was on teams with in the farm system, acting out in the dugout, flexing back at the radio booth, doing all this stuff, and Randy telling, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. So it's like 8 minutes of radio gold.
I bet.
That one is out there. You could search for that one on YouTube and probably find it.
Okay, I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, I really would like to. That's the thing about it. Okay, so Randy Macho Man Savage, who went to high school with Ernest P. Worrell, I don't know. I guess, Neil, we can neither confirm nor deny that Vern also went to that school. I mean, I don't know. I guess in a way he did. But had a heck of a minor league baseball career before getting to. I was looking it up here. It said he played 289 games for 4 minor league seasons. He batted .254, hit 16 home runs with 129 RBIs. That's really not too bad. He was a pretty good player.
No. Yeah, pretty good. And and again, we're two different teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Neil, so you grew up there in East Tennessee as a kid. Were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
When I got into watching it, I guess, and I was in junior college, the very late 90s, that was our Monday night thing. One of my best friends in the world played for the men's basketball team. I was doing the games. He was dating a girl who's now his wife that was playing on the women's team. And there'd be a group of us from athletics that would get together on Monday nights. And that was during the time, I guess, of what they called the Monday Night Wars. And we would sit and watch WCW Nitro, and then you'd watch the WWF show after. One started an hour after the other or something.
Yeah.
And we'd sit and watch. Of course, that was Steve Austin and Booker T and Triple H and all these people now, some of which have gone on to run big parts of the business, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was when I kind of watched it. What I remember as a kid was, I feel like there was a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon show that you watched for an hour that was like clipped together. And then if there was a 5th Saturday in a month, instead of Saturday Night Live on NBC, you had the main event.
Okay.
And you'd watch that. It was a special fifth Saturday show. I remember that stuff as a kid, but very little other than, Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man, King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant. I remember some of those guys. And then over, I guess, in the WCW, Sting, Ric Flair, Lex Luger,
Yeah.
Sid Vicious. You know, I remember some of that stuff. The tag teams always stood out. Road Warriors.
Yeah.
The Bushwhackers, the Australian guys, you know, that would walk out there kind of funny and lick people on the head.
Yeah.
The natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon. I can remember some of that, but you know, in terms of did I have a rooting interest? No, I don't think I ever had a rooting interest.
We got about a minute left. Jason out in Flagstaff, Arizona, he texts the show on the Country Pleasing text line. Now, it's a question out of nowhere. Let's just see, though. He says, what does Neil think of the Louisville Lip, Jim Cornette? Born, raised, retired back to Louisville, Kentucky, even started his own promotion twice back when he was tired of WWF's stuff. Do you know who that is? Jim Cornette?
I do know who Jim Cornette is. So there was a promotion in East Tennessee when I was a kid called Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And a guy who went to my high school, not my age, older than me, but was former football player, just athlete at East High School, Morristown, Tennessee, Tim Horner, White Lightning, Tim Horner. Tim was one of the big guys who was a big wrestler in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So he and my high school principal, Jerry T. Williams, at the Tally Ward building in Morristown, Tennessee one night, wrestled against Jim Cornette and the Dirty White Boy. And I remember Mr. Williams stole Jim Cornette's tennis racket and beat him up with it. And we all thought that was the greatest thing ever.
That is great. We saved the best for last. Neil, I do appreciate you giving me a little time looking back at a fun topic. Thank you, man. Good to hear your voice, as always. Appreciate you.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Oh, yeah. Now let's all go snap into a Slim Jim. Your thoughts, your text, just getting started with you on a Tuesday. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal, the taste brand, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing thing. A brand new transparent fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of...
.com.
All right, here we go. Back with you. I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau, go with the home team. So Chuck, I got to hear from Chuck quite a bit on the live stream. He's tuning in on the live stream on YouTube. Show streaming over there on YouTube right now. Just look up Radio Wyatt. It's on Facebook, same thing, Radio Wyatt. It's on Twitter / well, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X now. Same thing, streaming. Drop a comment. You can type in a comment, a question, opinion. Otherwise, it's live and pop it up on the screen, see what you got to say, and be a part of the conversation that way. It's the same as, if you text the show or you put a comment in, it's the same. The way I look at it is grabbing a chair, pulling up to the table, plopping down beside me, sitting down beside me. We'll pour you some coffee, hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. And we'll just sit and talk, see where it goes. Chuck, he commented, he said, it is a nice day for baseball. Buddy, it is. I don't know about where you live. I just know where I live in North Mississippi. It is absolutely perfect weather. It's close to perfect. I think the only way it could be any better if it were, let's say, 8 to 10 degrees warmer. Let's see. Right now, Tupelo, Mississippi, 71 degrees. Gorgeous, bright, sunny day. 71 degrees. Yeah, make it 81. Now we're talking. I know some disagree. But then he goes on, he says, I might get out and watch the Montgomery Biscuits play the Mississippi Braves at Riverwalk Stadium in downtown Montgomery tonight, and then gave us a hail state. Now, that would be cool. Chuck, I went to one minor league game one time where the Montgomery Biscuits play there in Montgomery, obviously. Riverwalk Stadium. It's right downtown. I mean, right up there on the bluff downtown on the bank of the Alabama River. You can see it from I-65 when it comes rolling into Montgomery and intersects with 85. And did I get that right? 85, 65. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyhow, as you're crossing over, you can see it over there. It's a neat place. Train track out in the outfield and left field. A railroad track. And what old train station is, the stadium's kind of built, the first baseline of that stadium, the grandstand, sort of built into the old train station downtown. That's a neat place. It'd be a great day to be there. What else did he say? Chuck said, I missed the wrestling show last week. Loved watching Memphis wrestling on Saturday mornings as a child. And then he went on to say, Randy Savage, he reminded us to play 4 seasons of, Randy Macho Man Savage plays 4 seasons of minor league baseball for the Cardinals and Reds organizations. And then he said the flying elbow seems like it'd be a great move for a catcher behind the plate. See, now that's what happens, Chuck. You come to this show. We're on a sports station. Typically a sports show. We do talk a lot of baseball and football and other things. And then you listen and we're talking about wrestling. And the next thing you know, you're starting into your own mind to, conjoin the two. Right? Wrestling moves in baseball. Sounds like a video game almost. All right. Send me a text. You can text the show, Country Please and text line. Open to you. The number to text is 885-3776. Got it? 601 number, 885-3776. And another way to remember that is 885-ESPN. Just text that number. It gets in here. Nick texts the show. He said, first wrestling comment. All he said was Big John Studd. That's the text. Studd with 2 Ds. So I'm never heard of him, Nick. I'm assuming he was a wrestler. Look at him. There he is. Big John Studd. Born in 1948. Passed away in 1995. American professional wrestler and actor. Best known by his ring name, Big John Studd. His real name was John William Minton. Okay, there he is. I mean, see, Nick never would have thought of it. Now, Nick followed that up and he said, when Jake the Snake unleashed Damien on Savage's left arm, I think it was I was more shook than when the horse died in the Never-Ending Story movie. Now, listen just a minute. We're going to have to bring Beaver in on this one. Hey, Beav, happy Tuesday. How you doing? Well, we'll check on him in a minute. I think he's on the phone right now. All right, y'all, Nick, hang on. We'll be back with Beaver and say he's on the phone right now. He's answering phones. Grumpy said, Matt, the more Grumpy listens to Neil, the more Grumpy likes Neil. Yeah. He's something now. And he's got a lot more. I mean, we only had 20 minutes to chat. We're really less than that. We only had 15 minutes to chat a while ago. And he's got a lot more stories than that, too. It's great. Now, Jason, I knew you would enjoy his answer there. Jason texted the show earlier. He asked when Neil was on. That'd be Neil Price from State. Asked him if he knew the Louisville Lip, Jim Cornette. I knew you'd like that story. Said that Tennessee guy stole Jim Cornette's tennis racket and beat him up with it. And everybody in the gym thought it was great. Joe Mailman texts the show. Country Please and text line says one we didn't mention that day was One Man Gang. He later went to work at Angola prison as a guard. So there's an actual wrestler named One Man Gang. Really? How about that? Let's see. Let's say. Dog Tired in Florence. Okay, I got it. Who are we looking at? Oh, I see. It's the IMDb page for the old Mid-South Wrestling. See, you know what? That's the other thing, Dog Tired. Okay, when we were talking about it last week, and which over the years, anytime, wrestling would be brought up in a conversation or anything like that, obviously local people here in this area would start to talk about Mid-South Wrestling. And I didn't get to see it growing up. I only am familiar with it through osmosis of everybody around here grew up watching it and have picked up over the years of Jerry Lawler stuff and all that, based out of Memphis. But as a TV series, it's only listed as being on from 81 to 86. So it wasn't Dog Tired. It wasn't on for that long, if that's the case. Like maybe it was on locally or something and it was not listed here, but it's listed on this IMDb page as being a TV series from 1981 to 1986. Like a very short amount of time. I mean, in the way you hear about it, you would think it was on for decades, but apparently it was not. Okay, he wants me to look at the names. All right, so I'm going to do it. The IMDb page, and here they are, the top cast. You've got Boyd Pierce. This is the old Mid-South wrestling. Okay, Boyd Pierce, announcer. Cowboy Bill Watts. Oh, okay. No, the announcers were Boyd Pierce and Jim Ross. Okay, and all these people came through here and then moved up, right? So Cowboy Bill Watts, these are the wrestlers. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man. Clinton, Mississippi. General Skandor Akbar. Like, how can we forget that? I don't know if y'all realize this, but there was another hacksaw. Not just Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but apparently there was a Hacksaw Butch Reed. You had the Junkyard Dog. Mr. Death, Steve Williams. Mr. Death. Now, listen, again, the names. Nature Boy, Buddy Landell. Now, if you say Nature Boy, you think of what? I mean, you think of Ric Flair. But there was another Nature Boy, Buddy Landell. But you never heard of him. I hadn't either. Mr. Olympia, Kamala the Ugandan Warrior. There's Jimmy Cornette. You got Crusher Darsow or Darsow, Hercules Hernandez, Beautiful Buddy Eaton. And listen to the names. Loverboy Dennis Condrey, Jake the Snake Roberts, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. That was Robert and Ricky. The Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, the Grappler. You had a tag team, the Fantastics. There he is, one-man gang. Nikolai Volkov, remember him? He made it big for a little while as a sure enough heel, right? Nick Murdoch, Brickhouse Brown, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, The Nightmare, Jesse Barr, King Kong Bundy. Of course, you had the Dirty White Boys, the Barbarian, Chavo Guerrero, the Alamo Busters, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and superstar Bill Dundee, and the list goes on and on and on. Oh, Dog Tired, thank you so much for sending me that. It's a laugh. Y'all stick around.
Now's the time to get a great...
Have you ever wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is, Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product. Even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
You know me. you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card, the one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Why, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS. Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
If a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's elation. The exciting new fragrance from Impulse.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are they going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court.
I'm here to strip for Dan Fielding.
Thursday.
Oh, what a meal, oh.
Hamburger Helper Lasagna.
For your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty robusto. But not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger Helper Lasagna turns your plain hamburger.
You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. Yep, 1 week ago today, we had a 2-hour wrestling show. Not wrestling. No, that's like an NCAA sport. This is wrestling. Belts and hitting somebody over the head with a chair. Yeah, it's all fake. But it's like the older I get, the funnier it gets and the more entertaining it is. Especially looking back on some of that old stuff. And God rest his soul, we did a whole segment. Neil Price had some Randy Macho Man Savage stories because people that knew him personally, because he's from Lexington, lived in Lexington, Kentucky all those years. Did y'all know that Randy Poffo, who became Randy Macho Man Savage, went to the same high school as Jim Varney, who became the actor that played the character Ernest P. Worrell? You know, Vern this and Ernest Saves Christmas and Ernest Goes to Camp, all that stuff. They went to the same high school. They sure did. But looking back on all that stuff, man, this Randy Macho Man Savage. It was entertaining, fantastic, and funny.
Not only are you a hot dog, a grandstander, a showboat, and a prima donna, but you're a liar, too. I hate you. I hate your guts. I was doing real good, yeah. I was styling out there like a champion, yeah.
I mean, how could you not laugh at that? I mean, really. I guess it's fine as long as you're laughing, right? It's great. Coming to your text, apparently, and I need to be educated on it. I got some texts here. After Dog Tired sent me to the link that was the IMDb page for Mid-South Wrestling, which was all those great names and characters over the years. And maybe that's different. So I think it's telling me how it's different from Memphis Wrestling. And maybe I need to learn all of that. First, though, over to the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. They're the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact. Means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Divinity. On line 1, the man with an Elvis song named after him, Ready Teddy. What's up, Teddy?
Hey, Matt, you speaking my language with this old school wrestling, man. I know this is crazy, but when I was a little boy, somehow or another, my dad became friends with a gentleman by the name of Grizzly Smith.
Okay.
Who was the matchmaker? Who was the quote unquote matchmaker for Mid-South Wrestling? Well, Grizzly Smith's son is Jake the Snake Roberts.
Okay.
And so anytime they came to the Coliseum, as a child, I got to go back in the dressing room and meet all the wrestlers and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. How about that?
Once upon a time, we had a picture of me, like a Kodak camera, the Freud, I guess you'd say, that shot out the camera right then.
Uh-huh.
With the Rock and Roll Express, me with the Fantastics. A lot of people don't know, but Sting and Ultimate Warrior came out as a tag team in the Mid-South called the Blade Runners.
Okay.
Kind of like imitating the Road Warriors with the big muscles and the face paint and all that. And a really cool story that I can't find documentation anywhere, so I have no proof of it other than I had heard it. But Mid-South had been in Monroe the previous night, I guess a Friday night or something, and then they were in Jackson on Saturday night. And Dr. Death Steve Williams and Terry Gordy, who were actually rivals in the ring, then they ended up going to Japan and being a tag team. But supposedly they were drinking beer, driving from Monroe to Jackson, and a car was on fire on the side of Interstate 20. And while they were waiting on the jaws of life, that those two big 300-pounders supposedly pried the door open enough to get the person out and save them in a car wreck.
Oh, wow.
Now I can't document that. I can't find it on the Google machine or any of that.
Yeah.
But me hearing that story as a 7 or 8 year old, I don't believe I would have heard it if it wasn't true. But I actually heard it from some other wrestlers. Me and my dad heard it from some other wrestlers that they had saved somebody in a fire. So that's just kind of a cool thing. But unfortunately, speaking of fires, all those pictures I had, we actually lost in a house fire.
Oh,
none of the pictures of me with those wrestlers. None of those pictures exist.
That's terrible. I hate to hear that. That's
but it's
tough.
just some great memories, Junkyard Dog. I don't know if I got a picture with him or not, but I've met him and he's thrown me for a couple of flips when I was a kid. But it was just a great time in my life, man.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, Teddy, one thing too is I remember when you were doing the crawfish eating competition, you kind of had the whole wrestler mystique thing going in the belt and the character and everything too. So surely it's pretty clear that had an effect on you.
It did. And Matt, I'm on a weight loss journey. I hadn't seen you in a while. I'm down about 40 pounds. So I'm taking this year off from competitive eating.
Okay.
But I tell you, it was a great feeling. The NOLA Crawfish Fest reached out to me and said, Teddy, we haven't received your entry for the contest this year. Just wondering if you're going to be in it. We've had over 500 people. We've had 500 people sign up, and if you want in, your spot's there. So that double white character is, I guess, done enough for me to where out of 500 people, if I wanted in, I would still want to 12 to be in.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, the reputation preceded you there. Good stuff.
Thank you, man.
Yep, and congrats on the weight loss, and thanks for the story. That's really neat. Can you imagine? Right, like another example, I guess it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Little youngin'. He's got a friend who gets him whenever they'd come to Jackson to wrestle. He'd get to go backstage and meet him. Take some Polaroids with the wrestlers. Really cool. Okay. I want to let me go here to what CWR texted in. He said, Matt, Mid-South and Memphis Wrestling were two different promotions. Okay, so I'm learning it. I didn't know, but CWR, what you're saying is Mid-South, which Junkyard Dog, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, $1 Million Man, those people, different than Jerry Lawler and Memphis Wrestling? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Again, I'm willing to learn, is what I'm saying. Yeah, and sure enough, Dog Tired, thanks for sending me that. I mean, looking down the list of those names it's just, they were brilliant. in terms of, from an entertainment, putting on a show. It's like a traveling circus. And I mean, they just knew how to get people going. Now, J-Rock says he thinks Dr. Death played college football at Oklahoma. All right. Tony texted us, he said, what about the spoiler, using the claw with the fake blood? Okay, was that a Mid-South deal? Some guy called the spoiler? And he had a claw? I mean, listen to us. It's hilarious. Real unnamed texter said, he grew up just south of Memphis watching Mid-South wrestling in the 80s. He said when it went off, which again, according to that page, was 1986, he said, I didn't watch wrestling again until college because everyone was watching it and making a big deal about it. He said, but it wasn't the same. Those guys in Memphis were local heroes to me. He said, and they were my friends. See, that's the thing about it to me, too. The Mid-South deal and the Memphis deal, it's just like Teddy talking about, hey, they'd come through Jackson, right? You get to go backstage, meet them. A lot of people knew these guys. Okay, Jason, yes, he says Memphis wrestling is different than Mid-South out of New Orleans. He says you got to think of the territory days of wrestling, pre-Vince McMahon Jr. WWF, putting everyone else out of business. And so he sent me a map here to educate me. Professional wrestling territories of Canada and the United States. Now, I know it's a real map, and it was a real thing, Jason, but you got to appreciate how it strikes me. I mean, not only do we have a map, okay, and it's divided by states, it's color-coded and everything about who wrestled for who and against whom, but it's called professional wrestling territories. I mean, it's like, don't you cross that line. This is our territory. The whole thing's funny to me. Somebody said Junkyard Dog never lost in Louisiana because the fans would destroy the vehicle of anybody who beat him. So he had to win. See, then we took it too far. When we got to that point, it's like that kid. It's real to me. Oh man, this is great. It's real to me. And if Junkyard Dog loses, I'm tearing something up. Oh, it's fantastic. Steve commented on Facebook. He said when he was in school, he said the neighbors used to meet every Friday night and watch wrestling live on Channel 5 from Mobile. He said we ate ice cream, popcorn, and booed the villain, Mario Galinto. Later on, he turned and became the hero. Man, that's fantastic. All right, hour one in the books. That's back-to-back Tuesdays. About this time last week, Beaver said, just do another hour of wrestling. We'll see what happens. I do have football news. Y'all stick around.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court, Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, Well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in cans to pure, fresh milk. Remember, your family gets the most from Foremost.
Coca-Cola, come on, girl. Gotta share a Coke with you. Let the feeling show through. You wanna live a little bit more. That's what the taste of Coke is for. Coke is life. Everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola, Coke is life. Everybody wants. Come on, Harry, come on. We're getting our picture taken.
Special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember. In pictures.
Smile, Howard. Smile.
To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Just look for this sign when you get your pictures. Kodak paper, for a good look at the times of your life.
See, wasn't that fun? Come and get it. Come and get it.
Stop the confusion. Stop the confusion. Everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Buster wants the cornflakes. Pop wants a pep. Mama loves the raisin bran. Mama is hip. Sister loves Rice Krispies. And there's Uncle Jack. He loves Kellogg's shredded wheat. Kellogg's makes it fun to eat. Breakfast with Variety Pack. Okay, folks, there's your favorite individual box of cereal, fresh from Kellogg's Variety Pack, untouched by human hands, except your own. That don't mean you gotta eat with 'em. Each individual box comes to your FOD, fresh on delivery from Battle Creek, right to your own dish. Yeah, everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Variety Pack.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big red one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. It's so thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big red one.
I love the rich, whole wheat goodness of Kellogg's Mini Wheats. But the delicious frosted side makes the rich kid in me open wide.
The nutritious shredded wheat helps keep me on my toes. But the little ballerina in me thinks the taste steals the show.
Kellogg's Mini Wheats, wholesome shredded wheat for the adult in you, great taste for the kid in you. So they're delicious and nutritious.
The whole grain wheat really packs a crunch, but the delicious taste gives it just the right punch.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinser?
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I,
1059.com.
Back. Hour 2 of the show, off and running with you. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Check them out, cspire.com. By the way, friendly reminder, I've told you all a bunch for months. It's still going on. If you haven't yet, okay, taking the plunge, if you're still using, home internet service that is slow, that is antiquated, that they told you it was fast, but you have not experienced fiber home internet, C Spire fiber home internet service, you can get it. We have it here at our house, and since we got it a couple of years ago, it transforms everything, like the way you watch TV, the way you use your computers, the way you upload, download, post things down, stream things. It's so fast and can handle so much. You can have 3-4 TVs going, streaming 4K all at once, and it doesn't even blink. Okay. When I upload video files that are really large, gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of video files, you ought to watch it. Just, it's incredible. C Spire fiber home internet. I can't sing its praises enough. And you can get into it and save a little money. Get your first 2 months of C Spire fiber home internet free. Just use my name at checkout. Use code Wyatt. That's my last name. It's like Wyatt Earp. Just use Wyatt. WYATT. Just use my name, Wyatt, at checkout, either on the phone or online, and get your first 2 months of C Spire fiber home internet free. Now, you have no excuses not to get that. Stream the show. If you're at work while the show is streaming, come back home, later at night, kick back, replay. Really? Why watch anything else? See how it is? You talk wrestling just a little bit, and you watch some of these old promos from The Ultimate Warrior and Randy Macho Man Savage, and you automatically start to brag on yourself. Right? Is that how that works? Anyway, back with you, hour 2. We'll see where it goes. I told you I do have some football news that, to me, is pretty exciting. And just the possibility of it. And I'm going to pass this along to you coming up. So we're not going to be completely void of football. We had a little baseball. You do have baseball going on. Ole Miss playing an early game today. I think it's the school day where kids get out of school and like they fill Swayze with a bunch of school kids, and it's a beautiful day for it. And it really a neat thing. Just really a neat thing that they do. I think that's going on today. And State's going to play at Memphis tonight. All of that and more. But your texts and your comments and your phone calls coming up. Phone's open to you. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line. That number, 885-3776. Country Pleasing sausage. Made right here in Mississippi. Country Meat Packers, Highway 49, Florence, Mississippi. Shipped all over the Southeast. Available in grocery stores everywhere. Walk in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about. Now, we check in with Beaver a second time. Hey, B.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
Yes. Well, Beaver, this time last week, one week ago, we had done our first hour of wrestling on the show. And you said something to the effect of, don't stop now. No. You keep this going. How are we doing so far?
That was good for last week, but 7 days later, I've really had my fill.
You've had your fill of it? Gosh, and I've lost the text. Well, not lost it. I'm just trying to track down who sent the text. Here it is. I was going to see if you knew what this was about. It might be before your time. I'm not sure. But Nick texted the show, Beaver, and he said, when Jake the Snake unleashed Damien, I'm assuming that was the snake, on Savage's left arm. That would be Randy Macho Man Savage. He says, I think I was more shook than when the horse died in the Never-Ending Story movie. Do you remember that? You know what he's talking about? Yes, no?
Yeah. Yes, there was Jake the Snake. They brought out Damien was the snake, yes. He tangled up Macho Man's arms in the ropes, put the snake, and it, real deal, real life, it bit Macho Man's arm, and it actually wouldn't let go.
Uh-huh.
That'd be the nightmare of my life, but that was real.
It was real. What was it, like a big python type of snake? Or was it a little snake?
It was a good sized snake. I mean, it wasn't like a massive anaconda or anything, but
okay.
What had happened before? Jake the Snake. This is according to him. Macho Man apparently backstage, he was so paranoid that before they went out and did it, according to Jake the Snake, Macho Man he had kind of convinced himself that Jake the Snake, because obviously you need to de-venomize, whatever, but he was convinced at one point that Jake the Snake was literally trying to make sure that there was actually still deadly venom in the snake's fangs. Like, Macho Man thought that Jake the Snake wanted to murder him, basically. So much so that Jake says before the match, he made sure, he's like, hey, you make it bite you first.
In other words, here, don't hand me a glass of water unless you're willing to take a sip of it to prove there's no poison in it, right?
Yeah. Just paranoia at its ultimate.
That is fantastic. Hey, and just for you, Beaver, you sent me a video clip of the Ultimate Warrior, and here was part of it.
It's the bondage of the ultimate maniacs. No sleep, no food, no nothing. Just maniacism.
What in the whole world was I watching?
No sleep, no food. As
No
skeletons, we still walk as ultimate maniacs. So what are you gonna do? Bury us now?
I mean, it is straight out of, left, no sleep, no what? No food.
It's the bondage of the ultimate maniacs. No sleep, no food, no nothing. Just maniacism.
Just maniacism.
Is that even a word, really? Maniacism.
And did you watch the whole thing? Like when
I didn't have
Ultimate Warrior? Oh,
I didn't have a chance to get to the end.
Oh, just play the whole thing.
Well, I don't have it. That's a sound clip. I clipped it out, so I don't have like the audio cord plugged into the thing that you sent me on YouTube. I can get it though for the next segment during the commercial break.
It's pure madness. Macho Man's going on and on about on the edge of a lightning bolt. Yeah, we are. And he's going through all this, and he's talking, and Ultimate Warrior's just back there making sounds, and they eventually just start yelling random things over each other that you can't really understand what either of them is saying. And Ultimate Warrior eventually, at the end, he just this snorting noise.
It is absolutely hilarious to me. And Beaver, here's my thing. Let's go back to whatever time frame that was when that actually aired on TV. Ultimate Warrior and Randy Macho Man Savage, and they're doing some big hype up thing. What are we talking about here? Is this late 80s? Is it early 90s? Just ballpark it. What are we talking about?
That promo?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, just take a guess.
I believe that was the 80s, late 80s.
Okay, late 80s. So when people are seeing this back then, did they laugh? Or was it not funny? It was really serious entertainment.
Oh, this was all real back then.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. It's almost, and I'm not, when I stand here and laugh genuinely at it, I'm not making fun of it. It's genuinely funny. It's really funny. And part of it that is funny is that back then, it wasn't funny. I mean, a man just texted in a little bit ago, Beaver, and said that when Mid-South Wrestling would go to New Orleans, that they had to make sure that Junkyard Dog won the match, because if he lost, the people outside would find the vehicle of the person who beat him and like tear his car up. We're taking it way too serious here at that point.
This text that Dog Tired Florence just sent, he said, all real, exclamation point, son, exclamation point.
All real, son.
Not only are you a hot dog, a grandstander, a showboat, and a prima donna, but you're a liar, too. I hate you. I hate your guts. I was doing real good, yeah. I was styling out there like a champion.
Real. It's real, all right. It's real funny. Oh, man. Somebody texted in and said, this is good stuff. I'm going back to work and put somebody in a sleeper hold. Don't do that. If you do, don't mention us. Right? That's what we're talking about here. It's not that serious. Paramount texted the show and said, FYI, Beaver and Jake did some wrestling on the show on the afternoon drive yesterday. And something about a draft? Having a wrestling draft? Oh, there he is. Yeah, okay. Somebody had mentioned this earlier, too. There was this character on Mid-South called Dr. Death, Steve Williams. And there he is. He's got his Oklahoma football helmet, his jersey. He was a football player at Oklahoma. J-Rock sent me the picture of that. I don't even know what this is. Beaver, I'm going to need some help with this too. The text from Every Week Tony where he said, I've been building up an immunity to 𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 Okay, and then Denzel provided the picture. And it's the photo from when Randy Macho Man Savage got twisted up in the ropes and Jake the Snake turned the snake loose and the snake bit his arm and would not let go. There it is. It actually happened. Not that we doubted it. Beaver confirmed it. And then, let's see. Oh, look. Okay, so Jason sent me the YouTube video. You can watch the whole thing there. Getting attacked by the snake. That's great. Hale State fan over here on YouTube watching the show said, I had a neighbor in the 70s that has hospital bills to prove wrestling wasn't fake. NWA champion Harley Race body slammed him and broke his back in a Georgia match. Well, none of the, the physicality of it's fake. We're talking about like it being an actual fight where we don't know the outcome ahead of time. That's all we're talking about. Yeah, but the stunts and everything were absolutely physical and real, right? Okay, and then Chuck is referencing something. Y'all can decide if you want to go look at it, but Chuck said, if you want to understand what Memphis wrestling was all about, you should watch the first 2 episodes of something called Tales from the Territories. All right. You have my interest. You have my interest. All right. Flipping it. Top of the hour here as to start hour number 2. Time for our headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢 the Mortgage Man. Find him online at �MortgageManMS.com. Baseball going on today. I mentioned that to you. Ole Miss playing the early game today. Started earlier this morning. Beautiful day for it. 70 degrees and bright sunshine. A little windy in North Mississippi, but I'm assuming it's the day where they have the school day, where it's like a school field trip for thousands of kids getting to go to an Ole Miss baseball game in the middle of the day. Ole Miss hosting North Alabama. Ole Miss beating them 8-4 right now. You're in the top of the 7th. Later this evening, State will play at Memphis. First pitch scheduled for 6 p.m. at FedEx Park. Avram Fogelman Field there in Memphis. Memphis hosting Mississippi State. State beat Memphis in a comeback in a midweek game earlier this year. Memphis does have a midweek win over Ole Miss this year up in Memphis. And a whole bevy of SEC teams playing midweek games here tonight. More on those coming up. From the NFL, the Jets are going to trade Zach Wilson to the Broncos. That according to reports. Former number 2 overall pick back in 2021. And they're saying that the Jets are going to get a 6th-round pick in this week's NFL draft from the Broncos, who, in addition to Wilson, are going to give a 7th-round pick from the Jets. The Jets and the Broncos are going to split the $5.5 million that Wilson is due this season. Each team going to pay him $2.75. So it's kind of weird. Like former number 2, like Jets are just unloading him, getting him gone. They don't have to pay him $5.5 that he's owed this season. They're going to have to pay him $2.75 and get a draft pick, a 6th rounder in this year's draft. So that trade news involving a quarterback happening today. And in college football. Now, this is not the college football I referenced. There's something else out there that I want to tell you about. But I wanted to mention this to you. A judge is ordering Florida State and the ACC conference to go to mediation to settle their lawsuit. This is a Tallahassee judge ordering Florida State and the Atlantic Coast Conference to enter mediation in hopes of settling a high-profile lawsuit that, according to the story, says that could dramatically impact the future of the league. Duh, you don't say. You telling me that whether Florida State is in the ACC or not dramatically impacts the future of the league? Of course it does. More than that. Florida State's gone. Clemson's trying to get out of there too. It's goodbye ACC. Everybody else can find a new landing spot too, because that'll be it. And it'll be like Pac-12. It'll be the start of what happened in the Pac-12, basically. And if you noticed, it kind of flew under the radar a little bit yesterday, but the NCAA as a governing body is no longer classifying the Pac-12. Well, they won't because it's gone, but they're no longer classifying the Pac-12 as an Autonomy 5 conference. They are now classified as a Group of 5, the Pac-12. Well, you know, Florida State leaves the ACC and Clemson's gone. The same thing will happen over there. Don't tell that to Duke, North Carolina, all that. They don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Okay, but here's what since we mentioned Group of 5, here's what I said earlier, or I mentioned earlier. Okay, Heather Dinich is a senior writer at ESPN, covers college football, all things college football playoff. She is kind of like the Ross Dellinger at ESPN. Ross Dellinger doesn't work for ESPN. He's all things college football playoff. If something happens in a committee or anything, Ross is all over it. Well, that's who she is kind of for ESPN. Now, there's been meetings going on, and look at what she put on X earlier today. Not even quite an hour ago. She says there is buzz at the college football playoff spring meetings right now, today, about the idea of a Group of 5 postseason tournament. Now, this is football. Listen to this now. It was discussed years ago, but never gained traction. Retiring AAC Commissioner Mike Oresco said he was always concerned it would, quote, separate us from the big guys. Okay, that was then. But here, regardless of what he says about it, yeah, I mean, that's kind of laughable. The AAC really never was part of the big guys and all that kind of stuff. But this right here, they are meeting right now. The college football playoff spring meetings is going on right now. So you're talking, Greg Sankey, right? Commissioner of the Big Ten. The major ADs and presidents. They're meeting on this stuff. The college football playoff. Mark Keenum, president of Mississippi State University. He chairs the college football playoff board or whatever, right? There is buzz today at those spring meetings about the idea of a group of 5 postseason tournament. Y'all, it needs to happen yesterday. I have been preaching about it for years. I've been standing on a stump for years. I've got the YouTube videos to prove it from years ago of saying they need to do this. That whatever you think stands in the way shouldn't. We've talked about it on this show. We're talking about the Sun Belt, the AAC. And I know everything's changing quickly. Okay, but obviously, whatever the growth and whatever the separation is for the power conferences and the pay-for-play models that are basically going to pay all the players, you'll have a revenue share, all that kind of stuff going forward. Well, not everybody's getting in that. And so whatever's not, give them their own postseason, their own trophy to chase, just like I've always said. The players who play at Southern Miss and South Alabama, they have their own level and their own national championship to chase. Stop pretending that they are chasing the same trophy as Alabama and Ole Miss and State are. And so there's traction with that, and it needs to happen. It would be phenomenal for those schools, and it'd be great television too. Stick around.
Everyone has a Jenna in their life.
Hey!
A deal-making dynamo who knows how to stretch a dollar like silly putty.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and murraywest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough.
Matt Wyatt is in the house on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. Joe Mailman texted the show on the Country Pleasin' text line. Country Pleasin' sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. Made right here in Mississippi. It's the best sausage I've ever had. I'm out of jalapeno and cheddar, though. I got to come up with some more. Joe Millman texted the show and he said he heard a wrestler being interviewed about the falls and body slams he had. He says, if you hear 2 thuds when they hit the mat, it was a good fall. He said if you only hear 1 thud, it was not a good fall and that one hurt. Oh, man, I mean, some of the stuff that they're doing, the athleticism for the people that size is like off the charts. Yeah, and some of the stuff that they're doing, I mean, there's just no way to do it without somebody getting hurt every now and then, right? Just no way. Now, Jason in Flagstaff texted the show, and he said, different back then, he says when they actually tried to make it look real. He says, versus today when you can't possibly believe 6 guys standing around waiting to catch a guy who jumps from the 3rd, 4th line. Yeah, in terms of, I hadn't seen like now. I wouldn't know like what it looks like now. And then he also vouched for that thing that Chuck shared with us, something called Tales from the Territories. He said it's really good. He said the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler episode is a great look into how they were able to hide that it was all fixed for 100 years. Yeah, for that entire time, how they were able to hide it. They probably started with the fact that only a few people were in on it, Jason, probably. Mm-hmm. All right, really interesting. Okay, a couple of things that are actually, look, in terms of college sports and keeping up with it, college football and keeping up with it the way we have, it's really important. This stuff is really important. To me, it's a big deal. And I like both of these things we're about to cover. I like it. Okay, the first is what I told you a minute ago, that according to reports in this college football playoff committee spring meetings they're having right now, they are taking a legitimate, sure enough, look at the idea of having a separate group of 5 postseason. So you're expanding the college football playoff to 12 teams. That's, access for Power 5, all this kind of deal. They're looking at having their own deal for group of 5. Now, what's interesting about that is right now that college football playoff, it's going to take 12 teams, includes, some automatics for conference champions, but it also includes some language about highest ranked conference champions. So you got 12 teams. There's absolutely a chance for someone who's not in a Power 5, right? Like a what? An SMU, a UCF, a Houston, something like that be really good, be undefeated, put them in the 12 because of their ranking. And so maybe there's a way they work all that out, sure. But broad picture is look at all of the conferences and schools that aren't Power 5, that they can go undefeated until the cows come home. And they're not getting into that, even the 12-team college football playoff. Well, you're sitting here sanctioning it as an NCAA, unit, governing body. Whether you're actually enforcing rules or not, you're still the organizing body right there as an NCAA, and you're sanctioning their deal. Well, they got to have a postseason. Give them a postseason. It's really hard to. This is what I've argued over the years. Even when you go back to, UCF claiming a national championship, even though they didn't actually have one because they didn't get in, right? You go back to this, they don't have access to that. And they're not going to. Certainly not when it was 4 teams. So we're about to have 12-team playoff. And I know some things are a little different, but still you look at how you qualify for the 12-team, it's still pretty exclusive to the big boys. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. So as an NCAA governing body, you can't sanction all these leagues, not have some sort of organized postseason for them. And you go, yeah, Matt, bowl system. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. And this is what I've argued in the past. If we're going to use that. If you're Southern Miss, would you rather have, as a player, an individual, maybe the parent of a player, a coach on that team, would you rather have the option to have a spot in a playoff to go play for a national championship at your level, kind of like they do in Division II and Division III, or go play in the New Orleans Bowl? One game, New Orleans Bowl, get you about, 4,000 or 5,000 people there and call it a year. Which would you rather have? Well, it's basically rhetorical, the question, because the answer, we know the answer. Every single solitary person, like literally the only people that wouldn't want it to begin with would be somebody associated with the New Orleans Bowl. But here's the deal. Here's the catch. You give them a playoff, you still have those bowls that are taking those teams right now. It's just their game is now a part of the playoff. And it's a part of the schedule. So the interest is heightened. The importance of the game is heightened for those schools and for their fans. You go, well, I'm not interested. I ain't going to watch. Well, who cares if you're an Alabama fan and you're not interested in it? That's not, we're not talking about for you anyway. This ain't for you. This is for those players and those schools and their fans. The interest is heightened all the way around, from players to coaches to fans and television. And if you want to get the attention of people on an idea, you do at some point, for many of them, you do have to convince them of the money, because many of the decision makers, that's all they're thinking about. Many of them, not all, many. And it is a no-brainer for television. It is an absolute no-brainer for television that they will have more people watching. It will be a better event. It'll be a more meaningful event if those postseason games like the New Orleans Bowl, who have teams like Southern Miss and ULL in them, and it's a part of a group of 5 playoff towards a national championship, we'll watch it. You'll watch it. I will. Everybody will. It's better for TV. It's better all the way around. And the fact that they haven't done it to this point is just another indication of how poor the leadership has been at the NCAA level. See, I would say that if you took a good hard look at it, people like forward thinkers, like, say, a Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, a Mark Keenum, the president of Mississippi State, who's on the College Football Playoff Committee, I'm sure they would agree with this. The deal is, though, it's not on their radar. It's not on the table. That's not what they've been working on. One is the commissioner of the SEC. That's his job. It ain't his job. to look out for the group of five. And, you know, while you're dealing with all this other stuff over here in the SEC, also figure out a way to do something for the group of five. That ain't his job. It's not Mark Keenum's job. He's the president of Mississippi State University and is serving on the College Football Playoff Committee as it relates to the conference and the level that his school performs at. It's not his job to look out for a group of five. But if you were the president of the NCAA or any of those, you know, the director, deputy director, whatever, that is your job to look at those kinds of things. And it's just an indication how poor the leadership has been at the NCAA level for years and years and years. One, the leadership you have had is poor. Two, you hadn't had enough leadership. Why? They don't want to spread the money around. The people who are there currently like the fact, and have been there, like the fact that they've been getting paid a lot of money to do nothing. And if you hire more people, two things may happen. One, you might get paid less, and two, you might have to do something. So finally, here we are. Push has come to shove. The whole thing has begun to break up. The tectonic plates have begun to shift. Entire continents in the college sports world have broken off and are floating off to go do their own thing. And now what? Finally, push has come to shove, and people are starting to look at stuff. That makes a whole lot of sense. And now we are in the pay-for-play era. I mean, the wheels are greased and they are spinning in the Big Ten and in the SEC. We are paying the players. The NCAA cannot rule on it. They can't punish. The NCAA can't even step foot into some states like Missouri. So here we go. Creatively figuring out a way to pay them. We pay them to play. We pay them to stay. We pay them to come here. If we don't like them, we put them in the portal and go get one out. The wheels are greased and they are spinning at this level. And see, it has widened whatever gap already existed with the non-resource leagues, the Sun Belt, all these other things. It's widened the gap. And so it's become ever more apparent. Push has come to shove. You got to give them something to play for. Bowl system, give them their own playoff and include the bowls. And now we're talking. So it's good to see that happening because it needed to happen 10 years ago. And nobody would really jump all over it. I think they should have jumped all over it. Next, an update for you, the story that I gave you at the end of yesterday's show. What did the state of Mississippi do here the last couple of weeks with their NIL law, and it flew completely under the radar? Details for you next. And y'all, it's a game changer. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it. and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All Bran Wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's all bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All Bran Wagon. Eat Kellogg's All Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing, it's a fun thing, it's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing, a brand new transparent fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, a fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what? Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5.
A conversation and tell him what you think right now on the Zone 1059 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right, turn your mic on, Matt. All right, here we go. This is a game changer. I think I used that term for this yesterday when it came up. It was all kind of like hitting right in front of me. It's not like you had time to go back and read a lot of stuff. But I continue to think that today based on a few other pieces of information. Mississippi, as a state, very recently amended its name, image, and likeness law for college athletes in the state of Mississippi. And yesterday when I saw some of the details, I'm like, does that mean what I think it means? And upon further review, I still believe it does mean what I think it means, which is two things. One, it's a step towards a model that at least makes a little sense. And two, it's a game changer for schools and places that the school and the university may be really healthy from a revenue standpoint, but they don't have a law school. They don't have a medical school. All right, here's what it is. On April the 18th, Tate Reeves signed this thing into law. An amendment to the NIL bill, the name, image, and likeness bill. He signed it on April the 18th, so 5 days ago. It went through the House. It went through the Senate. Signed by the governor on the 18th. First of all, this is what I find interesting. Have you heard about it? As a sports fan in the state of Mississippi, did you hear anything about it? Was there any reporting? Anything been written? Are you aware? It was said when that happened, back on the 18th when he signed it through, it was said that here in Mississippi it allowed schools to create some, what they're calling NIL opportunities for athletes. It allows schools themselves to enable NIL opportunities for athletes. Well, what does that mean? Well, stay tuned. The law allows third parties, okay, the third party collectives, to pay NIL compensation to athletes for this, for promoting their school and promoting the games. Are you seeing the connection here? Now, one lawyer, agent out there, I told y'all about him, Mitt Winter. He described it this way back when it, like the day after it got signed in. He said it's going to allow athletes in Mississippi universities, to be paid for promoting their school and for promoting their own games. Okay, and Virginia has a similar deal. And then he said this, the difference is a third party is going to have to pay the kids in Mississippi. The schools can't do it directly. He described it that way. But here's the catch. I read through it, talked around yesterday. Yesterday, when I read into what I was looking at, it dawned on me. This is saying that a university in Mississippi, let's just say via in the marketing budget for marketing, could come out of the marketing budget with X amount of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, and pay that to a third-party collective. That the collective then turns and uses that money to put on events, to arrange things in ways for the athletes to promote the university and the games and pay them for it. So do you see what I'm saying? We got a chain here. They're all linked and they go in this order. University to the third party collective to the players. The university pay the third party collective to arrange events. Third party collective pay the players. Third party collective is a pass through. You see what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that's how it reads. That's the way it looks to me, this deal. Now, there's been no reporting. None. Zero. Don't know if it's intentional or not. I don't know. But again, so let me stop right there and tell you what I did. I went to X. I found this guy, Mitt Winter. He reported on it back after it was signed. And I asked him a question this morning. I said, Mitt, good morning. Regarding Mississippi's law, does it allow for a school to pay the third party collective to create promotional events, to promote the university or upcoming games? His answer, one word, yes. So here's what we're saying, y'all. You can see that I'm Radio Wyatt on Twitter. He is at Winter Sports Law. He says he's an attorney at Kenny Hertz Perry LLC, college athletics attorney, NIL sports law, business litigation, former Division I basketball player. And he's been very open. He really pushes for pay for play and has been, and revenue share and all that kind of stuff. but he'll communicate, and he kind of knows what he's looking at right there. And he says yes. Okay, let's throw the if in there. If that is true, a school could, according to this law, can create NIL opportunities for athletes. A school can. Now, the school cannot, according to this law, write the kid a check, give him cash, give him a direct deposit, pay him directly. But it says the school can create NIL opportunities for the athletes, and the school can enable those. Well, what is that? Create and enable NIL opportunities. What is it? Particularly when you say for promoting their school and for promoting the games. And according to this, the way he interprets it is the school can pay for that promotion and pay for the facilitation of that promotion of the school and the games, and can pay the collective to execute the promotion of the university in those games. The same, in other words, it'd be no different than the marketing arm of a school going out here and paying a TV station or a radio station to promote a game, buying commercials. What it comes straight out of your marketing expense at some points from some level of university. And in this case, it's saying we're going to, you could theoretically, according to this law, it opens and allows for pay that third-party collective who they are out there connecting with an audience and promoting your university and promoting your games. And the way that third-party collective is doing it is cutting deals with the actual student athletes. Now, again, I'm not at all trying to look at it and stir anything up that it's not actually there. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, and this lawyer says it is, I asked him directly, does this mean, regarding the Mississippi law, that it allows for a school to pay the third party to create the events and promote the university and the games? He said, yeah. So you got millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in television revenue. And a whole bunch of millions of that goes into a marketing budget. And a whole bunch of millions of that goes to a collective. And a whole bunch of millions from them goes to those players. Maybe it's not that simple. But even in that case, it's a little more typical of a business, right? Is the money that is made is the money that is used to keep making money. I mean, it's like, that's the way business normally is. As opposed to, we make the money, but we don't use it for that. I need your donations instead. It's a different type of deal. Very, very interesting. Read it for yourself. For Beaver, I'm Matt. We're out. See y'all tomorrow. See ya.